Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending our Board of Education meeting tonight. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would now like to turn it over to Dr. Yanni for our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Castro-Giovanni, and good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. I'd like to have Giovanna Lisa give a student report. Giovanna?
Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys all had an amazing, restful break and a wonderful Thanksgiving. Just before the break, Oyster Bay High School held parent-teacher conferences. Thank you to those who volunteered and to all the parents who came. Additionally, the high school held its shelter-in-place and early dismissal drill, which was a success. As for more recent events, just yesterday the high school began to wear holiday pajamas on Mondays throughout December in order to express school spirit and get excited for the holidays. We also began our toy drive yesterday, where students will be able to bring in new, unwrapped toys to be donated for the holiday season. Tonight, our boys basketball team is playing in the Tom Robinson basketball tournament, and tomorrow our girls basketball team will be playing in that same tournament. We wish them all the best tonight and tomorrow. After a fantastic play in November, followed by an amazing musical performance by Vernon, the high school is preparing for its next spring musical production, Once Upon a Mattress, which tells the story of the Princess and the Pea through a unique perspective. Auditions are currently underway for any students who are interested. Finally, next Saturday on December 13th, Oyster Bay will be holding its tree lighting and holiday stroll. The high school chorus will be performing there, so be sure to visit, enjoy some holiday festivities, and support our students. This is all the news I have for tonight. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Great job, Giovanna, as always. From November 17th through November 19th, 64 students, 10th graders embarked on a 3-day, 2-night adventure. The itinerary was robust, carrying them through 5 diverse colleges and universities. So they went to the College of New Jersey, Loyola University of Maryland, Georgetown University, University of Maryland, and University of Delaware. This trip went far behind the mission statistics or standard campus tours. It was a profound opportunity for these students to step into their futures. You know, Oyster Bay is one of the only few districts that has this kind of opportunity for our students. By visiting this university along with their friends, the student had a chance to really look in the future with friends and our mentors, our colleagues, and guidance counselors. So I want to thank Dr. Danka that is here, Ms. Corbo, and the entire staff for making this effort possible. Thank you so much. This year marked our 10th annual musical production of Vernon, featuring an incredible cast and crew of over 164 Vernon students that performed. It was incredible. We had almost 1,200 members of the community and parents attending, which was wonderful. So I want to say great job to the entire department. They are amazing, and every time they do even better all the time. Thank you. I just want to provide the community with an update from last board meeting and some of the information that we have been receiving. The first one is the banners survey that were posted and that were in the gym. The one thing I want to make it clear to the community is that the banners that were hanging previously, they are not being destroyed. They are in a safe place. They're not going anywhere. We are asking the community to fill out a survey, and the link has been posted, has been emailed their home. And the question that we are asking is what they would like to do with the old banners. So one of the things that I want to make it crystal clear is that we're not destroying it, and they are there to whatever the community will decide. So hopefully that will clear some of the misunderstanding that is out there. The second thing is I want to give an update on FOIL, which is Freedom of Information documents. They are requested under the New York Freedom of Information Law, which is called FOIL, F-O-I-L. Members of the public have the right to request access to district records with certain exceptions. All FOIL requests for the district are coordinated through the District Record Access Officer, Zach Nyberg. The district must acknowledge the receipt of the request within 5 business days of the request. Then we provide the record within 20 business days from the date of the acknowledgement letter. It is important to note that when a request is voluminous or complex in nature, the district may request a reasonable extension, typically 10 to 20 business days, to allow adequate time to locate, review, redact, and prepare the records that will be released. Over the past year, the district has received 101 FOIL requests involving nearly 15,000 pages of records. One individual in particular has requested 78 of the 101 requests, involving just over 2,600 pages. We've been responding to all the requests in the order they are received. Another piece of information that I want to follow up since last meeting was a community member raised a question about where the $2.9 million in payments came from and whether the district needed another vote. When the community approved the bond in 2021, that vote also approved the taxes needed to pay back the borrowing over many years. Those payments were made from the district's regular debt service budget line. Beginning in 2023-24, all the debt came off the books, and the district used the same voter-approved debt service line to make the $2.9 million in bands principal payments over the 3 years. And there were approximately $1.5 million the first year, $800,000 the second year, and $600,000 the following year. This approach was aligned in the November 18th presentation, and that presentation, I believe, is posted on the website. So I appreciate the chance to clarify this. And at this point, I would like to invite to the podium Dr. Aragon for a presentation on the curriculum update to the board. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to share the work taking place under the umbrella of curriculum instruction and the support for all of our initiatives. I thank the Board of Education, particularly the members of the academic committee, so some of this will be a repeat for you. Of course, thank you to our instructional leader, Dr. Yanni, Ms. Rayner, to our student member, and probably people don't thank the district clerk enough, but since she works for me during the day, I'll thank our district clerk for being here this evening. And before I begin, I want to recognize our 2 curriculum associates, Jennifer Camponia, Kimberly Corbo. Jennifer works at the elementary school level, Kimberly at the middle high school level, and every piece of what gets done in curriculum instruction, they play a large part in that, as well as all of our district administrators, lead teachers, and other teachers who take part throughout the year. So today's presentation, we're going to break down into 4 areas. The first area is an overview of the 2024 to 2025 state assessments, which will include 3 through 8 testing in mathematics and English language arts, Regents examinations, as well as advanced placement exams. Second part will be a review of our summer curriculum writing highlights. Over the summer, teachers and administrators comes together. It gives us an opportunity to reflect on what's working in our schools and what needs refinement. We're going to zero in for a little bit on just this past November's Superintendent's Conference Day. It's where kind of positions change a little bit and the teachers become the learners. We'll talk about our goals for that day and what we hope we achieved last month. And then lastly, we'll talk about some general curriculum updates that have taken place already this year as we progress towards the Board of Education goals for 25-26. So in thinking about state assessments, they're important, much like when you think of a report card for a student. Their test grades tell one piece of the story, and then there's other parts about the whole child. Similarly, if we think of a school district and think about how kids do on state assessments, it's an important snapshot. It gives us insight into student learning, curriculum effectiveness, and our overall school performance. And it is important to share that information with the community at large. The community should understand student achievement and growth, how we look to evaluate our instructional programs, the guide we used for our strategic planning. You'll see some alignment to assessments, to curriculum writing and curriculum initiatives. It should all come together. And it's also important to communicate accountability and transparency. So the first block of assessments are the New York State assessments, ELA and math, grades 3 through 8. And the goal and purpose of 3 through 8 assessments is to be an early indication of how students are doing. The idea was not to wait until kids were getting close to high school and potentially struggling, being college and career ready. So these exams were designed early on to see which kids maybe needed advanced work, which kids were right on target where they should be, and which kids needed a little help, push to progress. Through the years, they've taken on some different purposes linked to teacher evaluation and some things where I feel like they were sidetracked, and now we're kind of bringing them back to their original purpose, which is to see how students are doing. And an important piece that we look at too is how many kids participated in the exams. So we're proud to say we have a higher participation rate across the board than Nassau County, but we do still want to engage with parents and make sure kids are participating. It's good for the students. We've seen that kids who participate in the exam, it correlates with higher Regents exams. It's good for us as a school district because it gives us a better data set. We were really excited and proud last year. Our third graders at Vernon had a 95% participation rate. I think our sixth grade as well was 91%. So we're starting to see an upswing, and I think it's important for community to know that no longer are these tests used specifically for teacher evaluations. They really are important. The state has worked hard to get the assessments to us sooner, and now we've worked harder to get them to parents. All state assessments are now available through eSchool, through a platform called EdVista. So those are already up and available to students at the start of the school year, so teachers can see it, but also parents have the opportunity to check in on how their students are doing. And again, it's just a snapshot. Some kids perform better on tests than day-to-day. Some kids perform better day-to-day. It's just one piece of information, whether you're looking at it as teacher or parent. So our 3 through 8 assessments, I look across grades 3 through 8, and what I really try to do is look at each band of assessments in 3 ways. I look to see how the kids did compared to how they did the prior grade, right? So how did our 4th graders do compared to how they did as 3rd graders? How did our 7th graders do compared to how they did as 6th graders? And there we're looking to see if there's growth. Is there growth as a cohort of students? I also look at the same grade level year to year. Are we seeing repeated excellence in grade 4, which we are. We see really good results in grade 4. How are we doing? What are our trends at a particular grade level, with that particular assessment and the types of questions that are asked, right? The 3rd graders aren't asked to do the same things as 8th graders. And we also, as a control, we look at a regional comparison. How did our students do compared to the region? And I think, as most people know, Nassau is a very competitive region. We have very, very good schools in Nassau County. Kids do really well. So when we look at these charts, our Oyster Bay kids are our blue column. And you can see that grades 4, 5, 6, and 7 outperforming each metric, and that grade 8 showed a significant growth and a positive regional comparison of 18 points. So a lot of excellent work happening in ELA, and this correlates with a lot of the work that we're doing with our curriculum, and with more to come, because we haven't really seen the benefit of full-day pre-K, new science of reading-based literacy in grades K to 2. So I anticipate stronger trends going forward in ELA, grades 3 through 8. In math, 3 through 7, again, Oyster Bay would be the blue column. Very strong growth comparisons to prior grade levels. We see grades 4 and 6, as well as significant positive regional comparisons in grades 4, 6, and 7. So we look really closely at all of these, not just at how did a grade level do or how did a student do, but how did we do on a particular question. I know Ms. Capone, one of her favorite things to do is sit with elementary school teachers and look at the wrong answer analysis and say, where did our kids struggle? And it does get that granular. So the more kids who take the tests, the more robust our data sets, the better we can do to inform our instruction. Moving forward to Regents exams, we're making that jump then from, did I skip a slide? Yeah, skip the slide. We also look at the results, like I said, to differentiate and to scaffold for kids. So these assessments, for parents in the elementary school, and Mill, you've probably heard of iReady. It's an assessment that kids take 3 times a year, starting in kindergarten in the fall, winter, and spring. We've completed all of those assessments at diagnostic. We give our kindergartners a little bit of time. We don't hit them right at the start of the school year, but even they have had their first assessment. And what it does is it really provides information. Kids could be in the red or the yellow or the green. At the start of the year, most kids are at yellow, which is a little strange, but the idea is, where are they heading? I always look at the analogy like, what do you do when you see a yellow light? So early on in the year, when you're in no rush and you see a yellow light, it really doesn't bother you much. You slow down, you take your time. As the year goes on, if we're running out of time on that grade level and we're still in yellow, we speed up a little bit. We push a little more, we provide a little more information for the kids. We want to know where they're meeting success, where they're not, and be able to push them forward. And the goal, in one vantage point, is to prepare them for Regents exams. Now, for many years, Regents exams have been really critical for graduation. Kids for many years now have had what they call a 4+1. They have to pass 4 Regents exams and then another pathway in order to graduate. There's a lot of conversation in the news that this is changing in upcoming years, starting with the cohort entering high school in the fall of 2027. But for now, Regents exams play an important part for kids. This isn't an early warning system. These are the tests they need to pass to go to graduate. These are tests that go on their transcripts, so definitely more important than the 3 through 8s in terms of being high stakes. So if we look at all of our assessments that kids took last year, we saw that the overall passing rate for 2025 was 84%. So that 84% was an increase of 3%. It was 81% in 2024. And our mastery rate has remained constant at around 34%. For mastery, kids need to achieve an 85 or better. And again, we look very closely at the data. We also look at changes and trends and what's happening with the exams. So this year, heading into June, we know that Earth and Space Science and Biology will be new assessments. So new assessments are always a challenge. Teachers are now teaching something. A standard is different, but they're also not used to the flow of a particular assessment that they're preparing the kids for, so that always takes more time. And following right on the heels of Earth Science and Biology will be Chemistry and Physics. So we're paying close attention to our science results. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about how in some instances it doesn't feel like our Regents results and AP results correlate really well, where our teachers, some of our teachers are challenged with teaching to two commencement assessments at the same time, both Regents exams and AP exams, and we could talk about that data. It kind of gives us a closer look to how kids are doing overall. Again, so when we look at all of our Regents exams, very similar. We look how a particular assessment has done over a few years. It doesn't correlate as easily as like a 3 through 8 ELA in math because the courses are different. Earth science is different than bio is different than chemistry, world language versus US history. Even the mathematics, most are algebra based, but geometry is not. So it's not as telling to look from one year to the next, but we look at trends. So for example, when we look here, our global history exam has consistently maintained high passing rates in the 90% without much fluctuation. Again, US history also, our kids have done extremely well in both of those exams. On the mastery side, we see a little more fluctuation, a little bit lower percentage. And if you see, we're in the purple there. In my experience, this has become less and less reliable with changes to cut scores, and there's been a little bit more volatility in where kids are receiving mastery. So just to highlight that, in U.S. history, our mastery rate was less than 30%, and in the same courses in AP US history, 100% of the students achieved 3 or higher, which is a 27 percentage points higher than the nation. So I think whenever we look at one assessment as a snapshot, let's look at another assessment with the same group of kids, same content area, and see what other assessments are showing us as well. So I'll definitely look at some of our particular highlights. Earth science performance has remained stable, and passing rate was in the 90% last year. Living environment showed some fluctuation down to 81% and back to 87% in 2025. Chemistry as well had a bit of an anomaly dip in 2024 and came back up in 2025. Algebra 2 passing rates also, we had a dip and then recovered in 2025. Ironically, these are all assessments that are going to change either this year or next year. So definitely we'll keep a close eye on how kids are doing with those. And one of the things I'll just point out in terms of Regents exams in particular, Ms. Corbo at the high school, today we had, I got to witness a faculty meeting and the work she was doing with teachers using artificial intelligence as a tool to examine results. And the basis, and if I get this wrong, Ms. Corbo, I did my best to take notes, but data analysis, looking at, a high school teacher might have 100 students and maybe 60 students for a particular class, looking at all of their results, comparing it to standards, comparing it to a gap analysis of how our kids did compared to kids in other school districts, and then combining that together for then what should the next lesson look like. To do that using artificial intelligence is saving a great deal of time, with a great deal of support from someone who's leading them instructionally and the work they're doing together with the lead teachers to take a really close look at all this data. So it's not, Regents is done in June, everything gets put on a shelf, and then we see how we did next June, using that data as a piece to inform the quarterlies, which inform the midterms and preparation for our teachers. There's a lot of work behind the scenes going on. Kind of taking it to our next level, to advanced placement courses, for those who may not have experienced that yet, or maybe your kids didn't get to the high school. Advanced placement exams are assessments that are connected to college-level courses that students take in high school. They give the kids an opportunity for rigor, for challenge, to higher-level critical thinking and problem solving. In some instances, they can save parents a couple bucks with some advanced placement credits that become college course credit when the kids get off, and you hear a lot of times kids will enter college and they'll be in their second semester, or by their second semester they'll be sophomores, and sometimes that can help kids graduate early or just help them to not have as much stress and as much classes on them in high school. And they're really excellent ways to prepare kids for academic success. And in fact, we have some kids who take a lot of advanced placements exams, but the biggest bump that you see for advanced placement for college readiness is between 0 and 1. So it's really important for kids to have that one experience, whether it's an advanced placement class or a dual enrollment, to leave high school with an experience doing college level work, sets them on a trajectory for success in college. You could see a little bit of how we did as kind of an overview. Students scoring 3 or higher was 84%, which I just realized is the same percent as our region passing. So my father-in-law would say, play that number. So 84 is a good number for us tonight. We see, if you look at some of the data in terms of number of kids testing, we're seeing a slight decline. We kind of looked at that data. We think it's due in part to our class sizes are a little bit smaller. And we also see a lot of kids, parents, kind of between them, taking the choice to do dual enrollment courses. So on top of our AP courses, for example, 51 students took a college-level English course tied to a university, or another 12 took a college calculus course. So some kids are taking that pathway to prepare themselves for college, and we want to provide a wide range and options for both for kids. It's always nice in these charts to see an upward trend. So you see an increase. We're heading from 2001 of 62% to 2005, 84%. And these are level 3s on the AP exam, which shows us that more and more higher percentage of our kids are better prepared for college level work. It shows that the instruction and the programs that our teachers are putting forward are effective, and it should translate to more college readiness for our kids as they reach to the next level. Over the next 2 slides, I'll go back and forth quick. The first thing that jumps out to me, and for a smaller high school, the wide range of offerings is terrific. It's really great to have so many options to give kids the chance to challenge their skills. You might have one kid who really would excel in the humanities and want to take an AP seminar and AP research, and another kid who technology is an AP computer science. So having that wide range of offerings is really important. I think that helps us get more and more kids to participate, more and more kids college ready. And then there are some kids who will just take everything we throw at them. I think we have some of them sitting over here today. We'll hear from them in a bit, but having those different opportunities. And again, this is data that we look at carefully. Some of these courses represent only a few kids taking the assessments, and some of the courses we have a lot of kids, and there's some where it's our goal to start thinking about what we're doing as early as 3rd grade to put them on a path so more kids choose some of the AP classes. We'll talk a little bit more about them, as we go. Just of note, in some of our AP exams, kids can start taking AP exams, like AP Seminar and AP Human Geography, in 9th or 10th grade. This is another big indicator for kids. It's a great way for them to build strong study habits as they work through then the rest of their coursework. It gradually prepares them. The College Board's AP assessments, many of those that are work for 9th and 10th grade are a little bit more accessible to kids, and kids who take those usually take many more. We're heading towards a new offering next year, which again would be AP pre-calculus to give another option for kids. And that's where for some kids, that might be their terminal math class, the last math class they take getting AP credit. And for others, it'll be on their pathway to AP Calc AB or AP Calc BC. So we're really excited about that new offering next year. So some highlights that I kind of just broke into 2 areas, STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics type courses, and then the humanities. In STEM, something that really jumped out for us was physics. Our physics 83% scored 3 or higher. It's a 17-point advantage over the nation. So we really saw that, and not a single student in AP Physics scored a 1. Everyone scored a 2 or higher. And like I said, most were 3, 4, or 5. We're seeing excellent results in computer science, but what we want to do is get more kids involved and engaged in taking the AP computer science courses. Our kids who are taking them are really succeeding at high levels. We want to get more kids involved, more kids interested, so we've been talking about how we feed that pipeline. In the humanities, I had mentioned earlier our AP US History, how successful our kids were, but also AP Seminar, AP Research. All of our students in AP Seminar, AP Research, AP Lit, AP US History, and Spanish had scoring rates of 4 and 5, far above the national average. Again, AP Language, AP Lit, some of those tests, we want to see more kids. We know some kids' families are doing the dual enrollment college piece, which is good also, but we want more kids succeeding in these rigorous courses, so we'll provide those opportunities. All of this comes together in terms of AP Honor Roll. So usually by now, someone gets to stand up here and report on how our AP Honor Roll, but the College Board pushed it back to the winter, sometime in January. So last year, we received gold standing at Oyster Bay High School, which is a credit to all the work everyone's done, to our fine high school principal. And if you look at the breakdown of the subcommittees, in most areas, 2 of the 3, the school district was platinum, which is the highest level you can be. So another thing that I'm sure the community may have already know and should be proud of is that Oyster Bay High School was given the AP Access Award for its work including students from underrepresented populations, which just means we're working hard to get all kids to have these advanced opportunities. So a credit to our high school administration, to our counseling office, to make sure kids have the right opportunities. Moving ahead from assessments into some summer curriculum. So one of the things that takes place over the summer is curriculum writing, where teachers come together with administrators to plan for the upcoming year. And this isn't, detailed lesson plans for every single lesson for the year, but it does set a scope and sequence and a course for courses going forward. I would like to thank the Board of Education for the funding for this. I've said before that the school district budget is a statement of your priorities, and by putting forth these funds, it sets a good tone for the teachers that they're prepared and expect them to do the work as they come forward to start the school year. So this is just a sample of work that was done this past summer, and you could see it ranges from pre-K through advanced placement courses. It's covering everything from elementary health to cutting-edge data-driven training programs for students with disabilities. Several of the projects address new assessments, both Regents exams and advanced placements. And one of the really motivating ones that a few of us worked on helped to plan for our national celebration of our independence. It's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and the New York State Standards only has that particular topic in 3, maybe 4 grade levels across K through 12. So we had teachers from Theodore Roosevelt, from Vernon, and from the middle high school setting up units, mini units of study that will cover, everyone will touch that topic this year during the 25-26 school year. So one of the first areas of curriculum writing was also a new course. So we have started this year, and I actually spent some time there last week in Atlanta 7. It's a humanities/science research course for 7th graders. This is the first time we've extended the Atlantis program from Vernon up to the middle school, at least maybe the first time that I'm aware. I know this building's been here a long time, but in recent years, there was a Science 8 research, and Vernon had it going at 6th, so we filled that gap between 7th and 8th grade. And we're looking to do more of that at the middle level. One of the things we did last year for the first time is the AMC math exam for the 8th grade, 6th through 8th graders took that competitive math exam. So we're trying to increase the rigor in middle school, so we're seeing great results. And Dr. Yanni took a particular interest in this one and facilitated a meeting with our consultant who does our science research at the highest level, to working with the teacher and providing him guidance as part of the curriculum writing to see if we want kids to get here by their junior year, what should they be doing as seventh graders, so that kind of backwards design, beginning with an end in mind, where are they going, and providing that connection to then the curriculum writing, which took place for seventh grade. And we're seeing some terrific work already taking place in our Atlantis 7 course. As I had mentioned earlier, our 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, starting with kindergarten and with things like how was the USA created, working our way through Vernon and talking about a celebration of freedoms with a unique model built off a newspaper, and then all the way up to our social studies teacher, Mr. Sally, did a terrific job weaving American history through social studies courses that weren't in American history, and what are similars, what are parallels, what other documents exist around the world that relate to the Declaration of Independence, that this can be a part of the work that they do in all of those courses. So that was a really exciting to have kindergarten, sixth grade, and high school teachers working together and talking about what they were doing for this topic. We attended seminars together for professors from Harvard talking about this work for school age, and really came together with some really engaging mini lessons for this year. And I think, again, it's also a model for any special instances where we say, how often do we plan vertically, right? How often is someone from the high school talking to a kindergarten teacher about how are we going to discuss this subject? So excellent work there. Looking forward to seeing that take place. On the STEM side, again, one of the great advantages we now have with 72 full-time pre-K students is to not only give them the basics, but to go beyond. So now our UPK students actually have the science embedded into their program, and we had no curriculum for it. We had a willing teacher. We had 72 kids. We just needed to come together with some projects for the year, so we did work in pre-K. We are continuing to work on our math, Go Math. This is year 2 of not a new textbook series, but a new version of the textbook series where everything was broken down a little differently. So we did some work there, our teachers. Algebra 2, Earth and Space Science and Biology all did work towards new Regents exams and AP exam in art. We had some of our art teachers work. So a lot of different work in STEM and STEAM. One of the things that's sometimes tricky to teach, in my experience, at the elementary level is health. Common branch teachers, they do a lot of other work in ELA and math and social studies and science, and then health sometimes can get lost in the sauce. So we came up with a model, and we were thrilled to find out when we started thinking that all of our elementary phys ed teachers are also certified health teachers. So we looked at the scheduling, and we looked at their content area and did some curriculum writing. So now every student, grade K to 6, will receive 9 or 10, depending on the grade level, kind of mini unit lessons from a certified health teacher as a push into that program. We were able to fit it into their existing schedules, so it was at no additional cost, but now having that health expertise working and teaching at the earliest level of our health curriculum. And I know Shannon's upstairs watching basketball, but Ms. McAtee did a terrific job working with our elementary teachers and coordinating, and really had a vision right off the start of how this could work and how we could improve health instruction at the elementary level. At the high school, kind of right around the corner, we've created what's called a PAYS Lab. And PAYS Lab is something most folks probably aren't familiar with, but it's designed to help students with disabilities in their workforce readiness. It starts with simple tasks and builds as students go, and it provides data. So just as we look at data for how our kids might be doing on calculus course, we're going to look at data for how our kids are doing in their vocational training. So we're really excited about having the PAYS Lab up and running. And it's a few students this year. We're figuring more and more students will take part. So it was after the training took place in the spring, construction of the space, and then some curriculum writing this summer. So that one was unique to our special education, but a terrific program. Superintendent's Conference Day, which was, I guess, about almost a month ago, was on November 4th. And in my role, it's one of the things that I coordinated. And I really want it to be a signature experience, right, for our staff. There's really 2 days a year where we have everyone in a captive audience. One is the first day everyone's back from the summer, and that's a really tough time to be a captive audience. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of people who haven't seen their friends in 10 weeks. November is a little different. It's a little bit better pace of a day. So we want to create good opportunities in learning for our teachers so that they can turn around and do the same thing for our students. So really there were two main focuses this year, and at the middle high school level, most of our faculty took part in a program called Youth Mental Health First Aid. At Vernon and Roosevelt, it was kind of a mix of professional development and grade level meetings. Our special education TAs had specialized training, and some of our teachers in unique courses in the arts and ASL and computer science went to different programs outside of the district that day. But like I said, probably 90% of our teachers at middle school and high school took part in Youth Mental Health First Aid. If you're not familiar with the program, it's not to make your common area teachers mental health professionals. We have those folks. But just like our coaches take first aid, because they're out there to support our kids as needed on the field, our teachers should be armed with youth mental health first aid so that they are better prepared for kids. The CDC stats on kids and mental health in our country right now aren't very good. Slightly better this year than some years, but we also find across the country a lot of kids with unmet mental health challenges. Just in 2023, just some data, 40% of high school students reported sadness or hopelessness, 20% seriously considered suicide, 16% made a suicide plan, and 9% attempted. 60% of children ages 6 to 17 show all three of certain flourishing indicators, right? This is the opposite, that idea of curiosity about learning, staying calm when faced with challenges. So we partnered with the Association for Mental Health and Wellness, which is a non-for-profit out in Suffolk County. They provided the training under a grant from Mahaney's, the Mental Health Association of New York State, so the training was free. But they have certain requirements, so they were able to send us 2 staff to do 30 of our teachers. Then they got 2 more to do 30, and then we asked if they could do even more, so then they found 2 staff from upstate New York who did a virtual training for our teachers so that we could get that critical mass all in one day. And it's really about awareness. It's about our staff being able to recognize a sign that a kid might be struggling, make that approach to them, and then encourage them to get the support they need. So we're really excited that we now have almost all of our middle high school teachers trained in that regard. Also on the social and emotional learning, for many years the district has used the Ruler program through Yale. We kind of renewed that again this year, and our principals, assistant principals, our elementary curriculum associate did training on Ruler at our 2 elementary schools to help our younger students. And Dan Gatto, our behavior specialist, did training with our TAs on crisis prevention and intervention for kids who need additional types of support. Also, all of our counselors, school psychologists, social workers sat in on the training with the teachers, even though it's training they obviously have already had. But it's important for them to hear what the teachers are hearing so that we can combine to support our kids. Other big areas were in STEM. So a few things that are happening. We instituted a Magic School AI this year, so we've had some training there. Again, that vertical partnership, we have one of our teachers on special assignment at the middle high school partnering with our teacher on special assignment for tech at the elementary schools, and performing, there's no better way to say it, they literally were performing as characters from Harry Potter and engaging teachers in this new technology to support their students. So Magic School AI is an artificial intelligence tool for teachers, but also for students, and has a curriculum built in so kids can learn to use it safely. Another big thing in the mathematics area is a program called Magma Math, and it's a program many school districts are utilizing to help kids show what they know and teachers to collect data instantly. So we had a plan going forward to bring on Magma in 2026-27, and we were lucky to negotiate a free year to introduce, start to train, have teachers work with them. So we had training for our elementary schools in November, and I think we have training soon, next week, I think, for our secondary math teachers in the program. We had a check-in meeting last week, and we already have some teachers who've really taken to it. So everyone's been trained, and we're seeing a lot of support and working hard to get more training so that come next year, we hit the ground running. Again, Magic School AI, we've had some good things. We're working on personalized learning, using it for teachers. It's a very new technology. Magic School is the leading school platform in the country. So a lot of different folks working with that. And like I had mentioned when we talked about Regents exams, Earth and Space, biology, our Earth and Space teachers and biology took a deep dive that day. We kind of excused them from other things to really work towards that goal, that new assessment. And there's probably some science folks in the room who know this better than me, but you used to be able to do really well on the Earth Science exam just looking at the guidance document that came with and looking at the tables, and it was assessment that you could really practice and get kids prepared for. And the way now it's really different. It's clusters of questions for a particular topic, could be 9 to 11 questions. So it's just a different way of thinking, and you're looking at more, in some ways, like teaching it as reading in the content area. So spending a lot of time and giving those teachers, they knew right from the start this is different than what we've been doing. So giving the time over the summer, giving days like this, sets them up for our best success. Some general curriculum updates, just some thoughts that I've been thinking about and sharing with our administrative team is looking how can we embed future-ready skills into everything that we're doing. Categories being cognitive, interpersonal, self-leadership, and digital. They correlate really well with anything that you look at at college, where kids will do well in college, and certainly much further in terms of the world of work. What are the types of skills? What are employers saying young adults need to be able to do? So we try to embed that in the work we do. Just 5 updates in terms of our individual arts pathway, next generation graphing calculators, the use of new technologies, Wilson Reading, and the science research program, which I guarantee will be the best part of my presentation because I've got special guests who will come up and hope to bring it alive for the board and for the community. But first one is our individual arts assessment pathway, and this is just simply a new graduation pathway where kids take the same 4 assessments they did and now prioritize in the arts. It's a multi-year program that's portfolio-based, so kids really get started in 9th grade and then work their way through. So big thanks to Erica Giglio-Pack, who worked. We got it approved already, so we're set to go with the state approval. I know she did a training for myself and for our counseling staff, and now leading that out to kids, for the years to come. Different than the CTE pathway, which we already had for the broadcasting studio. This will really be visual arts and music. We don't think it's going to change the way students will graduate, but we do think it opens them up to their passion. We do think it rewards the work that they can have that designation as well as their other achievements. Next generation graphing calculators is another thing we're working towards. I know it's a passion of Mr. Kopax as a math educator himself, and we thought, again, this is another thing we thought we maybe were a year out, seeing how we could get some things in place in terms of how kids will work with different technologies in mathematics. Rob LaCastro, our assistant principal here at the high school, also works really closely with our math department. Met with them, talked with them, did a survey, looked at different types of calculators. He's been communicating with New York State for us in terms of getting that approval. So we're well on our way to moving in that direction with these next generation graphing calculators. And what kids will be able to now visualize conceptually in mathematics that they couldn't do on regular graphing calculators. Collaboration and discussion, again, very similar to like a Magma Math, where things are displayed, kids see what they're doing, they share their work, they see what others are doing, teachers are able to see what misconceptions are, connecting to the real world. So well on our way to moving forward with Desmos. And again, like I said, thank you to Mr. LaCastro. You know, as I had mentioned earlier, and we saw today, utilizing artificial intelligence for teachers, for data analysis, and for instructional planning. It's all very new. It changed drastically just in the past few months or maybe the past few weeks, and I haven't checked anything since this afternoon, so there might be something new out there. But you know, teachers are working hard at that and trying to leverage what's available to support our kids. You know, one of the things that I've always been a big fan of, and I know it's something we're building towards, is more teachers certified in specialized reading interventions. We want these interventions to be available to kids pre-special education, if we can do that, but also available to kids with special education, with special needs, who require a special class reading program. So to become Wilson certified is really a long and detailed process. And we were lucky to get 5 teachers who wanted to go on that journey this year, and they're well on their way. So we have 3 general education teachers, 2 special education teachers who were trained last spring, came together over the summer, and have been working really hard towards having this particular certification. And these are kids who are to support kids who are really struggling in reading, have these specialized, and we have some teachers already, but to add 5 more to our team to be able to provide this support. They're already working with students, but by next year it gives us even more flexibility. So they're well on their way. I think they're trying to set a record, and we'd say to be the fastest to ever complete the certification. When they get together, they call themselves the Wilsonettes, which, again, to me, when I saw them together and they shared that, you know, it was a moment where we got a chuckle, just like you did. But if you think about some of the most effective measures in education, probably one of the top things a kid can have is a teacher who believes that they can make a difference for that kid. And the only thing that's stronger than a teacher who thinks they can make a difference for a kid is a group of teachers who can think they make a difference for even more kids. So that sort of camaraderie, that coming together, that cohort model, we're going to do this together and support kids, is going to be really powerful for years to come. So I'm really excited about that opportunity. And another big piece we've been looking at is our science research. And you know, Dr. Yanni, I know it's such a passion of his. He works with Dr. McCullough from my research and try to restructure this and how can we provide kids, you know, world-class opportunities. We've got a new teacher in science research this year, Mr. Moy, who's teaching kids from middle school all the way up to our advanced research classes. We're tying that to Atlanta 7, and now we're looking to tie it back even down into the other Atlantis, doing some collaborative work between Atlantis and Atlanta 7, and try to have this pipeline of opportunity. And tonight it's my pleasure to introduce 2 students who have been on that journey. They're far from done, because with all their amazing accomplishments, they're still just a sophomore and a junior, so they've got a lot more education and research to come. So this fall, our sophomore Ella Kopax and junior Krista Thomas already advanced as semifinalists in the Association of Chinese American Physicians back in the fall. It's a nationwide research and scientific program. They were both semifinalists. They were both invited to present in Flushing. I think October 19th they went out, and both were recognized as honorable mention. So at this point, it gives me great honor to introduce Ella and Krista. They're going to talk a little bit about their research journey and the projects that they've been working towards, and probably are continuing to head into the science research season for the springtime. So Ella and Krista, why don't you come on up?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Krista Thomas, and I conducted research this year focused on elucidating the influence of gene expression pathways on breast cancer nuclear morphology. So, according to the American Cancer Society, 1 out of every 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. And out of those women, Black women tend to have higher mortality rates than their non-Black counterparts, which fueled my passion for breast cancer research and just diversifying the horizon of it. So breast cancer is a highly heterogeneous disease with diverse molecular subtypes and the tumor microenvironment contributing to its complexity. And central to this heterogeneity is signaling pathways which regulate key cellular functions such as survival and proliferation. And dysregulated pathways in breast cancer not only drive rapid cell division, but could also alter nuclear architecture. And in breast cancer specifically, enlarged nuclei is a sign of increased tumor aggressiveness as well as worsened prognosis, making it a key morphological marker of disease progression. However, there's not many studies that clarify pathways that are actually causing this nuclear enlargement in breast cancer. So my research focused on identifying those pathways that are governing this nuclear enlargement in breast cancer to provide targets and biomarkers for breast cancer therapeutic development. So with the help of Dr. McCullough, my research coach, and my mentor, I was able to do a lot of literature review and create 5 objectives for now for my research, which include uncovering the transcriptional heterogeneity of breast cancer, as well as identifying co-expressed gene sets that differ in breast cancer compared to non-breast cancer cases, and then from those gene sets, identifying genes that are significantly associated with nuclei size, and then using those genes to find pathways that they enrich, and then uncovering more of those pathways by doing microRNA inferred activity analysis. So I'm not going to go through all my results right now, but really, with the help of my mentor a lot, I was able to learn 2 different types of coding languages, R programming and Python, which I used for all of my analyses, given that it was bioinformatic research. So I used open source databases, which gives me the genetic information needed, and I also used something called H&E images, which I could use for my nuclei related component to my research. And with that, I was able to use different coding workflows and different processes to yield my results. And I was able to conclude so far with a specific gene, specific pathways that gene is involved in, and a microRNA that are all significantly associated with nuclei size in breast cancer, and thus causing this increased aggressiveness in breast cancer, as well as worsened prognosis and more deaths worldwide. So with this research, like mentioned previously, Ella and I were able to go to the Association of Chinese American Physicians competition, which was very nice. And recently, we just registered for the Long Island Science and Engineering Fair, and soon we'll be registering for the New York Science and Engineering Fair. And if we are successful, then we'll be able to participate in the International Science and Engineering Fair. So with this research, it just provides so many opportunities for us to not only connect with physicians like we did at the ACAP fair, but also connect with other students that are like-minded and that are as passionate for research as us. And also for me specifically, it's just brought my love for research. This is my first time really doing research like this, and I never knew that I would like it as much as I do now. And honestly, it does seem like something that I would love to continue to pursue in college. And I am wanting to be a doctor when I grow up, so it would definitely be good. It's definitely good to have this information and knowledge already before going into med school, for example, because just having all of this research background, it creates a good resume for you. So I think that this research has provided me so much opportunity, and I thank everyone that has helped me with applying to these competitions and also just participating in the iResearch Institute over the summer and the academy right now. And I think it's great. And I'll pass it over to Ella, and she'll explain a little bit about her research too. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ella Kopaz, and my project focused on targeting hotspot breast and ovarian cancer mutations via drug repurposing. So, new drug discovery requires millions of dollars and takes years to perfect. However, patients with metastatic breast and ovarian cancer don't have that kind of time to wait. With breast cancer affecting approximately 1 in 8 women in the United States, and ovarian cancer being the most lethal gynecological malignancy worldwide, a vast majority of the population are affected by these diseases. Despite current advancements in diagnosis and prognosis rates, breast and ovarian cancer still face a lack of personalized treatment. Further, the involvement in cancer hallmarks and overlapping pathways enriched in both cancers is understudied, followed by the absence of a drug that can accurately suppress all tumors. Additionally, hotspot mutations are not commonly targeted in drug repurposing studies due to their specificity in cancer and varied drug responses as a result of the molecular heterogeneity of the patient. So, to address these limitations, my study aimed to elucidate the underlying molecular mechanisms facilitating ovarian and breast cancer through transcriptomic analyses and drug repurposing techniques. So, key objectives of my study included following the differential gene expression analysis to identify overlapping pathways in key cancer hallmarks evident in overlapping upregulated differentially expressed genes, validate their use in terms of survival probability, and identify highly mutable genes, uncover hotspot mutations present in hub genes in breast and ovarian cancer and their influence on these key regulatory processes, and lastly, highlight the effectiveness of previously manufactured drugs on hotspot mutations through a more cost and time-effective approach, that being drug repurposing. So some of my key findings included simulating the binding affinities between each candidate drug compound and hotspot mutation, which was done via molecular docking, and I was able to recognize key hydrogen bonds in the binding site core along with residues in the surrounding pocket, which reinforces this idea of targeting the mutation present in the hub gene rather than just the wild type form of the protein itself. So overall, one-size-fits-all therapies are not the most efficient approach when treating patients with diverse tumor profiles and therefore a variety of hotspot mutations. So my study aimed to construct a drug library that can accurately provide patients with personalized treatment options when dealing with a variety of hotspot mutations. So as Krista mentioned before, we are looking to continue this research, and I know we already actually today submitted to the Long Island Science and Engineering Fair, and we'll be participating in state level, regional, and if we make it to that level, international science and engineering fairs, which would be great opportunities. And I'm just so thankful that we were given this passion and we were given the opportunity to follow our passion through science research with the amazing resources here. Thanks to Mr. Moy, everyone. My mentor, Dr. McCullough, and everyone who has guided me through this journey. I would also like to pursue a career in medicine down the line. So this just really prepares me not only for coming in contact with other people who have similar passions, but also just to immerse myself in this type of world. And it's a little snippet of what I'll be doing later down the line. So thank you.
There'll be a brief quiz in a moment to see how. So I'm not sure if any of us or most of us captured everything that was there, but I bet there was something you did really think of. And when we're planning for this type of work, or even our youngest learners in terms of research and passion, and whether it's project-based learning or place-based learning, whatever you want to call the acronym, to me it's human-centered design. So if we start with the problem and we can build in kids empathy for that problem, and it was obvious, they both led with it. They both led for, not this is a scientific problem and I'm really interested in research and I want to win a tournament. They led with, hey, this is important to me. This is important to me as a woman. This is important to me as an African American. This is important to me as a citizen, as a person. And starting with that program, building towards the work, which they didn't share, was tremendous. They spent the better part of their summers doing schooling. You glossed over lit review, but you spent a really large portion of your summer working really hard and really learning, and then bouncing ideas off, working with teachers, working with mentors, and then once you have your findings, one of the big things that kids get from this is presenting, and you could see how they did to come up here and to be able to present about important topics. But we try to build this into our education. You know, not long ago, a group of 7th graders here were looking at problems in the ocean, whether it's oil spills or plastics or killer shrimp, and they had to go through they had to pick the one that they felt passionate about. They did the work, they had to be credible and provide things. And so getting that sort of effort out of kids with that human-centered design is critically important. That's the piece that they will really remember from their time here. So having been showed up by our 2 research students, I don't want to talk too much longer, but again, thank the Board of Education for this opportunity. Thank Dr. Yanni, our curriculum associates, but also our 3 principals at Roosevelt, Vernon, and at our middle high school. You know, when I talk to them, they definitely take on that role, not just as building leaders, but also see themselves as instructional leaders, and they want to know what's going on in the classroom. They're keenly involved in the planning and discussions for the type of work that's being done. So a big thank you to our 3 principals as well. So thanks so much. And if there are any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Just want to say thank you for that in-depth, expansive presentation. Great job to our 2 student presenters today. I think it's really important that the community get to see all the great work that is done, often behind the scenes that the public doesn't get to see, the areas where students are improving and the new programs and opportunities where everyone is looking to do better, and the successes that we've already accomplished. So thank you.
Dr. Harrington, I'd also like to thank you for this presentation. I echo what Mr. Kopacz says, you know, to see all the work that our administration, our teachers, our principals are putting forth to help our students. So thank you very much. And to Ella and Krista, I have no doubt that you will, one day we'll all be reading about you or seeing on the news that you'll come through with some breakthrough in breast cancer research. So I look forward to that, and you make our district extremely proud. Thank you. Yep. Thank you so much. Dr. Yanni, that's the end of the superintendent report. Thank you. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve our meeting minutes, as listed and attached below? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I'll now move on to participation of agenda items, an opportunity for the public to be heard on agenda items. In keeping with the philosophy of open communication and informed decision-making, the Board of Education welcomes input from the community. However, it is important to note that while the Board of Education meets in public, it is not a meeting of the public. Respectful input and behavior by each member of the community is appropriate and expected at all times and should observe the following rules at Board of Education meetings. The Board of Education will listen to comments and input from the public. Debate between members of the audience and/or the board members will not be permitted. The board will not address personnel or individual student matters in public. No person shall present orally or discuss at any Board of Education meeting charges or complaints against individual employees, directly or indirectly. The speaker shall identify themselves and confirm their residency in the district on the sign-in sheet. We don't have any sign-in on the agenda items. Okay, so we'll move on now to instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to non-instructional personnel items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the non-instructional personnel items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I'll now move on to business items. As resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the business items as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to special services. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the special services resolutions as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move on to the approval of new business resolutions. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the new business resolutions as listed in their entirety. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And we thank the Association of Chinese American Physicians for their donation. I'll now move on to public participation for non-agenda items. The first person that is signed in is Ms. Emery Longo.
Dr. Yanni, could you just go over the bond anticipation notes and the payment of the $2.9 million for the field? You did a presentation last board meeting, but it didn't show the numbers you had mentioned tonight. Could you just go over that a little slower? Just the numbers you mentioned earlier today? Yeah, you had mentioned that you agreed that you would go over it today at the meeting.
So the $2.9 million payments, the last meeting you asked and you emailed, and I provided you with an email detailing everything in terms of the $2.9 million. So the $2.9 million came from the debt service line. And so we made principal payments over the period of 3 years. The first year was 1.5 million, the second year was 800,000, and the next year was 600,000, for a total of $2.9 million. That allowed us to reduce the amount of money that we were bonding, that we bonded this past June.
So just not to debate, and if
Thank you,
you
Dr.
could
Yanni.
possibly maybe send that to me. What I don't understand is on the 900 line, it's an average of $2.4 million for each year that we paid interest and principal on the bands and the debt service, which we averaged to 1 to 4 to keep our budget equal. I don't see where the 1, 5, the 8, and the 6 came from if it was not on the 900 line. So if we could,
Can we note that question, and we'll respond to Ms. Longo?
yeah, if you could just email me.
Okay. We provided an email that I forwarded to the board where we listed the 1.5 million, the 800, and the 600 were part of the numbers that Ms. Longo is mentioning. So I sent the email, but Ms. Longo, I'll be more than happy to go over with you and sit down with you or have a Zoom call or phone call and explain where those numbers came from.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
So I'll wait for your call.
Yep.
Jennifer Fernandez.
Good evening, everybody, to the board, to staff and community members. Wait, can't see. So as many of you know, as I've been sitting here for a lot of meetings, I'm a parent in the school district, and both my kids are in the high school. It's been exciting seeing the capital expenditure projects turn into reality in all three schools, especially now the Vernon space is being transformed as most recently. There's one group in particular that has been really looking forward to that new space and to see an updated, new, expanded gym, and that's the fencing team. I'm not sure if you are aware, but the fencing team had always previously practiced in the Butler building, and they entered this season just a couple of weeks ago, and they are now no longer allowed or practicing in the Butler building, and they are quite disappointed. Are you even all aware of that? That the Butler building is not being used for one of the sports that had been practicing in it? So I'm here to bring that to your attention. So instead, where are they practicing? You will also be interested to know that they're not even practicing in a gymnasium anymore. They are practicing in the cafeteria, the new Vernon cafeteria. So I'll skip over the obvious issues as to why they are not, like they should be in a gymnasium and not a cafeteria. But other issues that creates is Vernon does have some after-school clubs. They've already encountered a conflict where the club was still there when they needed to get in to start suiting up and practicing. So that caused their practice time to be shorter. And now this week, the intramurals start. Intramurals is where the middle level, 7th and 8th grade, get to start fencing. Varsity starts their practice later, but the intramurals use that 250 shuttle bus. So they get there around 3 o'clock, and again, they're going to have a conflict, or possibly, I don't know when all the clubs meet, but they meet sooner, so they also might have that time conflict. And again, practicing a sport in a cafeteria instead of the gym. Wanted to bring to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez, for your question. I just want to point out a couple of things, and the most important thing is that, one, I am fully aware of what you have mentioned, and number two, that since the new athletic center was in construction, I've been in conversation with the athletic director and with the coach, the fencing coach. Okay. I've spent, even over the weekends during the construction, on a Saturday, we went to the former Butler building, and so the coach has been fully aware of what's going on, and the coach was part of the decision making. There were a lot of conversation that took place in terms of scheduling. So I want to be clear on one thing. I have no problem, we have no problems with the fencers being in the new athletic center, which was beautifully renovated, the cheerleading being in the athletic center, and the gymnasium at Vernon being used. They just have to coordinate amongst each other, and some of the decisions they're made in terms of where they want to be. All the coaches were part of it, and all the coaches decided where they want to be and what was best for them. So we have no problem going back and figure out if that comes from the coaches or from the students. I'll have my athletic director go back to the drawing board and come up with a different plan. So I would definitely go back to the coach, the fencing coach, We will have a conversation, my athletic director and I will have a conversation again with the fencing coach and involve him in the process. But I just, I heard some rumors that the fencing couldn't be in the new athletic center. That is not true, not correct. They could be there. They could enjoy that space. They can enjoy the gym. But we have the space that we have, so they would have to work on the schedule that is available. So I hope I answer your question.
Yes, it's very different than the viewpoint I received, so I guess we'll all go to the drawing board and see where the truth is.
I'll go back to the fencing coach. Hopefully he's listening tonight. And I will reiterate the fact that even on a Saturday during the summer, we went to the plays, and there are some places that were picked. So if you receive different information or if that is changed, I'm willing to work with anybody as long as the students are happy and they are training in a safe place.
Okay, because maybe now even in practice, it's not really as theoretically as it might have sounded then. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all that signed in? Okay. So now I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Do I have a second? Thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a good evening.